Nya Carter never imagined that a single moment would divide her life into a before and an after. Seoul had a way of doing that to people. By day, she was Manager Carter, the woman who walked into conference rooms at day in global logistics with quiet authority, her natural curls pulled into a neat low puff, her tailored suits crisp and intentional. She had moved from Atlanta to Seoul 2 years earlier for what was supposed to be a temporary consulting role. 6 months, that was the plan. But Nya had a habit of exceeding expectations. Her operational systems had saved the company millions. Her calm leadership style earned respect in a culture that didn't always know what to do with a black woman who spoke fluent Korean and refused to shrink herself. Promotions came quickly, so did responsibility. Her coworkers called her Team Jangnam with genuine respect. They asked her opinion on everything from supply chain bottlenecks to which cafe in Gangnam had the best croissants. By night though, Nya became someone else. Not because she was pretending, but because Seoul allowed you to be more than one thing. After hours, she was the woman who explored hidden jazz bars in Itaewon, who danced to R&B remixes in underground lounges, who laughed loud and unapologetically, who wore her confidence like armor and perfume at the same time. She had built a full life in a city that wasn't designed for her, and she was proud of it. Nya, please, just come with me tonight. Her best friend Yura leaned against Nya's office doorway at exactly 6:02 p.m., already holding her coat. It's a charity gala, Yura continued, big donors, big money, big drama. You love drama, I love watching drama. Not being in it, Nya replied, closing her laptop. You work too much, you need to be seen. Also, my cousin is one of the coordinators. We got VIP access, that made Nya pause. VIP access in Seoul rarely meant free champagne and good networking, it meant powerful people. I don't belong in those rooms, Nya said. Yura rolled her eyes, you belong everywhere. You just pretend you don't. 3 hours later, Nya stood in front of her mirror, barely recognizing herself. She wore a deep emerald satin dress that hugged her in a way that was both elegant and dangerous. Gold heels, simple jewelry, her curls free and full, framing her face like a crown she never took off. You look like trouble, Yura said when Nya opened the door. Good trouble or Korean drama trouble? Yes, the charity gala was being held at a private venue in Cheongdam-dong. The kind of building with no visible signage. Black suits at the door, earpieces, eyes that scanned more than they smiled. Inside, everything glittered, crystal chandeliers. Long tables dressed in white linen, politicians, CEOs, celebrities, people who moved like they owned not just the room, but the city itself. This is not my crowd, Nya muttered, relax. Drink something expensive, pretend you're supposed to be here. That's what they're all doing, Yura said. They were halfway through their first drinks when Nya felt it. The room didn't go silent, it didn't need to. The energy changed, subtle like a collective inhale. Security moved. Not loudly, efficiently, a man entered through a side door, flanked by 2 others. He didn't look flashy, dark suit, calm face. But people noticed him, not with excitement, with caution. Who is that? Nya asked quietly. Yura followed her gaze, her face changed. Oh, that's Kang Jae-min's father. Kang Jae-min, Yura swallowed. The Kang family that told Nya everything and nothing. She had lived in Seoul long enough to understand what that tone meant, power, the kind that didn't need to announce itself. And the kid, Nya asked, because walking slightly behind the man was a younger male, early 20s, maybe handsome, nervous energy, trying too hard to look unbothered. That's his son, Kang Hyun-woo. The air. The music continued, the speeches continued. But Nya couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. It happened fast, too fast for warning. A man near the back of the room reached into his jacket. Security reacted, but not fast enough. There was a shout, a flash of metal. A single, sharp sound that did not belong at a charity gala. Gunshot. Hyun-woo froze. The bullet was meant for him. Nya didn't think. She moved, pure instinct. She shoved him sideways just as the shot rang out again. Pain exploded through her shoulder, white-hot, world-ending. She hit the floor hard. Screams erupted. Security swarmed. Someone shouted for medical. But Nya only saw one thing before everything blurred. Hyun-woo, on his knees beside her. His hands shaking, blood on her dress, blood on his hands. His eyes wide with something she had never seen in anyone before. Not fear, not shock, guilt, raw, crushing, immediate. I'm so sorry, he whispered, voice breaking. You saved me. Nya tried to speak. Only a breath came out. then darkness, and somewhere in the chaos, Kang Jae-min, the Korean mafia boss everyone pretended was just a powerful businessman, stood frozen, staring at the woman who had taken a bullet for his son. And for the first time in a very long time, the most feared man in Seoul looked like a man who didn't know how to repay a debt that could never be measured. Nya woke up the way you wake from a nightmare you didn't ask for, slow, confused, and already exhausted. At first, all she knew was pain. A deep, pulsing ache that wrapped around her shoulder like a fist and reminded her, with every heartbeat, that something inside her had been torn and stitched back together. Her eyelids felt heavy, the air smelled like antiseptic and quiet panic. Machines beeped softly beside her, the kind of steady, polite beeping that said, "You're alive, don't make me work harder than I have to." She blinked, white ceiling, fluorescent lights. A curtain half drawn, a hospital, and then memory snapped into place like a trap closing, gunshot, screams, Hyun-woo's face shattered and pale. Her own body moving before her brain could debate it. Nya tried to sit up, and immediately regretted every decision she'd ever made in her entire life. "Oh nope," she hissed, collapsing back onto the pillow. That was ambitious. A nurse appeared instantly, like she'd been waiting for Nya to try something stupid. "Miss Carter," the nurse said in Korean, voice firm but kind, "don't move yet." "You had surgery," Nya repeated, like the word might mean something else if she said it slowly enough. "How bad was it?" The nurse hesitated, the way people do when they're deciding how much truth you can emotionally handle. "The bullet passed through your upper shoulder, it missed major arteries, and the surgeon did an excellent job." "You're very lucky." Nya let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. "Lucky," she murmured. "That's one word for it." The nurse adjusted her checked her monitors, then glanced toward the door with a look that held both annoyance and awe. "You have visitors," she said carefully. "Visitors, plural." Nya's stomach tightened. "Yura," the nurse made a face, "also others." Before Nya could ask what others meant, the curtain shifted. And the room changed, not physically, not visibly. But the energy tightened, like the air itself had been told to behave. Two men in black suits stepped in first, scanning the room with the same expression they'd had at the gala, calm, efficient, and deeply unamused by the world. Then a third figure entered, Kang Jae-min. He didn't announce himself, he didn't need to. The moment he crossed the threshold, the hospital room felt smaller, like it had to make space for him, whether it wanted to or not. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a dark coat that probably cost more than Nya's monthly rent. His face was controlled, almost emotionless, but Nya noticed things. It was her curse and her talent. She noticed the tension in his jaw, the faint shadow under his eyes, like sleep had become optional, the way his gaze moved immediately to her shoulder, then to her face, as if confirming with his own eyes that she was truly still here. Behind him, hovering like a storm cloud with a guilty conscience, was Hyun-woo. The young man looked wrecked. No designer suit could hide the fact that he'd been crying. His hands were clasped tightly in front of him, knuckles pale. When his eyes met Nya's, something raw crossed his face, relief, guilt, and a kind of reverence that made Nya uncomfortable in a way she couldn't explain. "Nya Carter," Kang Jae-min said. Her name sounded different coming from him. He said it with precision, like it was a fact he'd memorized. Nya swallowed, her throat felt dry. "You're awake," he continued. "I gathered," she replied, voice raspy. Then, because humor was how she survived things that were too big to hold, she added, "Unless this is the afterlife and it's very clinical." Hyun-woo made a strangled sound that might have been a laugh if his soul wasn't currently falling apart. Kang Jae-min didn't smile, but something in his eyes shifted fractionally, like her refusal to tremble surprised him. "Thank you," he said. The words were simple, but the way he said them made them heavy. A thank you from Kang Jae-min wasn't a polite courtesy. It was a debt. Hyun-woo stepped forward quickly, almost stumbling. "I'm sorry," he blurted. I didn't even see him until, and you moved, you didn't have to." "Hey," Nya cut in gently. Speaking hurt, breathing hurt, existing hurt. But his panic hurt worse to watch. "You're alive. That's the part we're focusing on." Hyun-woo's eyes filled again. He nodded hard, like he was trying to hold himself together with sheer willpower. Kang Jae-min turned his head slightly, a silent command. One of the suited men placed a folder on the small hospital table. It looked absurdly formal next to Nya's water cup, and the plastic call button. I have already taken care of your medical bills, Kang Jae-min said. Private room. Best surgeon, security. Nya's eyebrows lifted. Security? As if on cue, she noticed them two men positioned outside the room through the glass, standing like statues with earpieces. Her pulse spiked. That's a lot. It is necessary, he replied. For who? Nya asked, voice sharp despite the pain. Me. Are you? Hyun-woo flinched. Kang Jae-min didn't, his gaze held hers, unwavering. For you, he said. That bullet was meant for my son. Anyone willing to shoot him in public will not hesitate to finish what they started. Nya's mouth went dry again. So I'm a target now? Hyun-woo stepped forward, voice breaking. No, you're not. I won't let that happen. I swear to you. Nya studied him, he meant it. With a desperation that looked like it might eat him alive. Kang Jae-min spoke again, and the room went still. My son owes you his life, he said, and I owe you something greater than money. Nya's laugh came out soft and bitter. I'm not sure what you think you can give me that makes up for getting shot. Kang Jae-min's eyes darkened. Then he did something no one in Seoul would ever believe if they hadn't seen it with their own eyes. He lowered himself, not fully to his knees. His pride wouldn't allow that, but he bowed deeply to her. A gangster king bowing in a hospital room to a woman in a gown with an fur in her arm. Hyun-woo sucked in a breath like he'd been punched. Even the security men looked startled, shifting their weight like the laws of the universe had briefly glitched. I am not asking for forgiveness, Kang Jae-min said quietly. I am acknowledging the truth. He straightened slowly, gaze never leaving Nya's. You saved my child, he continued. From this moment on, you are under my protection. Nya stared at him. Protection from Kang Jae-min didn't sound like a gift. It sounded like a cage with velvet lining. I didn't do it for favors, she said carefully. I did it because my body moved before I could stop it. Because I'm not the kind of person who watches someone die in front of her. Kang Jae-min nodded once, as if that confirmed something he'd already known. That, he said, is exactly why you cannot be left alone. Hyun-woo stepped closer, voice low and urgent. I'm going to make this right, he said. I don't care what it costs me. And something about the way he said it, like he'd already decided to burn down his entire life if that's what it took, made Nya's skin prickle. Because she suddenly understood something she hadn't understood at the gala. This wasn't just a random act of violence. This was a message, and by stepping in front of that bullet, Nya Carter had just been written into a story that powerful people were willing to kill for. The first thing Nya noticed when she was finally alone was the quiet. Not the peaceful kind, the heavy kind. The kind that pressed against her ears and reminded her that something was wrong, even when nothing was actively happening. Her hospital room had become a small fortress, to guards outside at all times. A nurse assigned specifically to her, visitors screened. Her phone returned only after it had been checked. Checked by who? Exactly, no one would say. Yura came in later that evening, eyes red, energy vibrating between relief and anger. I leave you alone for 5 minutes, Yura said, dropping into the chair beside the bed, and you get shot for a billionaire crime family. This is why I can't have nice things. Nya smiled weakly. I didn't even get a gift bag. Yura reached over and squeezed her good hand. You scared me, I scared me too. Yura leaned in, lowering her voice. They're serious, you know, Kang Jae-min's people. They took over this floor like they own the hospital. That's because they kind of do, Nya murmured. Yura frowned. What are you going to do? That was the question. Nya didn't have an answer. She was discharged 3 days later, not to her apartment. To a private recovery suite owned by a subsidiary that technically belonged to a company that technically belonged to someone who technically didn't exist on paper. It was luxury disguised as safety, soft lighting, a private nurse, a view of the river, and cameras she pretended not to see. Hyun-woo came every day. At first, he was awkward, quiet, like he didn't know where to put his hands or his guilt. He brought flowers she couldn't smell because of the medication. Books he wasn't sure she'd like, take out from places she mentioned once in passing. You don't have to keep doing this, Nya told him on the 5th day. Yes, I do, he said immediately. Too fast, too intense, I need to. Nya studied him. He was different from his father. Softer around the edges, restless, like someone who had grown up inside a shadow, and never fully decided if he wanted to step out of it or become it. You know, Nya said, you didn't pull the trigger. Hyun-woo looked away. No, but I pulled the life that made someone want to, that landed heavier. Is this what you wanted? She asked gently. This world, He hesitated, that was answer enough. I never wanted to be what my father is, he admitted, but I also can't pretend I'm not his son. That name follows me everywhere. And now it follows me too, Nya said, not accusing. Just stating fact, Hyunwoo's jaw tightened. I won't let it hurt you, you already did, she said softly. Then, before he could spiral, she added, not on purpose. But this is real, this is my life now too. He looked at her then. Really looked, not like a protected civilian. Like someone who had become part of his world whether either of them liked it or not. I'll protect you, he said. Nya tilted her head. That's your father's language, protection, control. I don't want to be owned because someone saved me, his eyes widened. I would never, I know, she interrupted, but you need to understand something. I didn't take that bullet so I could become a piece on someone else's chessboard, Hyunwoo swallowed. Then tell me what you want, he said. Nya didn't answer immediately. Because what she wanted felt dangerous to say out loud. I want my life back, she said finally. My job, my apartment, my normal problems. I don't want to be hidden away like a liability, Hyunwoo nodded slowly. My father won't like that. Your father doesn't get to like or dislike my freedom, Nya replied, eyes steady. I didn't bleed for his approval. Something changed in Hyunwoo's expression. Respect, not just gratitude, respect. I'll talk to him, he said. That night, Kang Jaemin came, no entourage, just 2 guards and a presence that still filled the room. You are healing well, he observed. I heal fast, Nya said. I don't like being still, that is clear. Nya didn't soften her voice. I'm going back to my apartment. Kang Jaemin studied her like she was a business problem with a soul. It is not safe, it's my life, my son is a target, he said. That makes you connected. I was connected the moment someone pulled a gun in that room, she replied. Hiding me doesn't erase that. Silence stretched. You are very brave, Kang Jaemin said finally. Nya exhaled, I'm very tired of being brave. I'd like to try being normal. For the first time, Kang Jaemin looked uncertain. My son cares about you, he said. That's not the same as me belonging to your world. No, he admitted. It is worse. That sent a chill through her. Worse how? Because when my son cares, he becomes reckless. The word landed like a warning. Hyunwoo's recklessness could start wars. You think I make him weak? Nya said. Kang Jaemin shook his head. No, I think you make him human. That was somehow more dangerous. Then maybe, Nya said quietly. That's exactly what he needs. Kang Jaemin held her gaze for a long moment. Then he nodded. You may return to your apartment, he said. But not without my security, Nya frowned. That's not a choice, it is a compromise, he corrected. One you are alive to argue about, touche. As he turned to leave, he paused. My son will change because of you, Kang Jaemin said. I do not yet know if that will save him, or destroy him. Nya's heart beat a little faster. Because she was starting to understand something terrifying. This wasn't just about a bullet. This was about a future where Hyunwoo would have to choose between the empire that raised him and the woman who reminded him he didn't have to be his father. Going back to her apartment should have felt like freedom. Instead, it felt like returning to a place that no longer fully belonged to her. 2 men stood in the hallway outside her door. Not blocking it, not announcing themselves. Just existing, a reminder, this is temporary, Hyunwoo said, standing beside her as she unlocked her door. Until we know who was behind it, Nya didn't argue. She was tired of fighting battles that only existed because someone else had power. Inside, Malcolm's absence hit her harder than expected. Her apartment still smelled like her throw blanket still draped over the couch. Her plant still alive, but the silence was different now. Not peaceful, watched. She returned to work 2 weeks later. Daein Global Logistics welcomed her back like a hero, flowers, emails, a quiet admiration mixed with discomfort. People didn't know how to talk to a woman who had been shot at a high-profile event tied to a powerful family. Are you okay? Her team lead asked gently. I'm alive, Nya replied. That's a strong start. Work helped. Spreadsheets didn't care about mafia politics. Data didn't flinch when men with guns existed, but the danger followed. The first warning came as a note on her windshield, no name. Just 3 words written in Korean, stay in your place. Nya stared at it for a long time before crumpling it in her fist. When Hyunwoo saw it, his face went cold. That's not a warning, he said. That's a challenge. From who? Nya asked. Hyunwoo hesitated. That's what scares me. The second warning was louder. A car followed her home one night. Not close enough to cause a scene, just close enough to be noticed. Hyunwoo exploded when she told him. This is my fault, he said. I should have moved you. I should have insisted. You don't get to decide my life, Nya snapped back. Then softened. But you do get to tell me the truth. Hyunwoo looked exhausted. There are people who want to see me fail, he admitted, not just outside, inside. Inside your family, yes, that was worse. Because internal enemies didn't play by public rules. The breaking point came 3 nights later. Nya was in her kitchen, reheating leftover pasta, when her phone buzzed. Unknown number, she answered without thinking. Miss Carter, a male voice said calmly, you should tell Kang Hyunwoo to stop asking questions. Nya's heart slammed into her ribs. Who is this? She demanded. That's not important, the voice replied. What's important is that you remember your position, my position. Nya repeated, I'm not on your board, you are now. The line went dead. When Hyunwoo arrived minutes later, breathless and furious, Nya didn't wait for him to speak. This ends, she said. Right now, I know, he replied. I've already decided. Decided what? Hyunwoo's eyes were darker than she'd ever seen them. I'm stepping into my father's role. Nya froze. What? I've been avoiding it. Pretending I could stay on the edges, but that ends tonight. That's insane, Nya said. That's exactly what they want. They want me weak, he said. They want me uncertain. They want me protected by my father forever, and you think becoming him fixes that? No, Hyunwoo said quietly, I think becoming stronger than him does. That scared her more than the phone call. Hyunwoo, she said, you don't have to become a monster to protect me. I already live in a world with monsters, he replied. The difference is whether I let them decide what happens to you. Nya stepped closer. This isn't a movie. Power like that doesn't come without blood, I know, he said. That was the worst part, he knew, and he was willing. I won't be the reason you lose yourself, Nya said firmly. I didn't take that bullet so you could turn into something you hate. Hyunwoo closed his eyes. For the first time in my life, he said, I actually know what I want. What? To burn down the parts of this world that touch you. Nya grabbed his hands. That's not love. That's a war. Then I'll fight it, he replied. That night, Kang Jae-min was called into an emergency meeting, not by rivals, by his own son. Nya didn't hear what was said in that room, but she felt the aftermath. Because the next morning, the city whispered, executives removed, alliances broken. People who had never bowed to Hyunwoo before, suddenly did, and Kang Jae-min. He watched his son take control with a face that showed pride. And fear, you crossed a line, Kang Jae-min told him later. I erased one, Hyunwoo replied, and for the first time, Seoul understood something had shifted. Not because a bullet had been fired, but because a son had decided to stop being protected. And start being dangerous. For Nya, the city felt different after that. Not louder, not quieter, sharper, like everyone in Seoul's invisible power structure had suddenly sat up straighter. Nya noticed it in small ways. Security that used to stand back now walked a step closer. Calls that Hyunwoo used to take privately were now taken openly in front of her. His posture changed, not softer but more controlled. More deliberate, he wasn't pretending anymore. He was becoming, and that terrified her more than the gunshot ever had. You're changing, Nya said one night as they sat in her living room, lights low, takeout untouched. Hyunwoo didn't deny it. I have to. No, she said quietly. You're choosing to, he met her gaze. For you, that's not fair, Nya replied. I didn't ask you to build an empire around me. I'm not building it around you, he said. I'm tearing down anyone who thinks they can use you to get to me. That's worse. A knock on the door cut the tension. Not a polite knock, not a neighbor. 3 sharp raps. Security outside moved instantly. Nya's pulse spiked. Hyunwoo held up a hand. Stay here. He opened the door. A man in a tailored gray suit stood there, calm, smiling like he wasn't standing in the hallway of a woman who'd already been shot once. Hyunwoo, the man said pleasantly, we need to talk. Hyunwoo's body went rigid. You shouldn't be here, I disagree, the man replied, eyes flicking past him. To Nya, that was the moment Nya understood. This wasn't random. This man knew exactly who she was. Who is that? Nya asked. Hyunwoo didn't take his eyes off the man. Someone who should be very far away from you. The man smiled wider. Tell Miss Carter thank you for me. Nya's blood ran cold. For what? For motivating you, he said to Hyunwoo. You've finally grown teeth. Hyunwoo stepped forward, blocking the man's view of her. Leave soon, the man said, but first, a message from people you've been inconveniencing. His smile vanished. Stop, he said, or she becomes the price. Silence dropped like a bomb. Nya felt it in her bones. Hyunwoo's voice went deadly calm. You threaten her again, and you won't leave this building, the man chuckled. You're not your father, not yet. He turned and walked away. That was worse than if he'd stayed, because it meant he wasn't afraid. That night Nya couldn't sleep. Every sound felt like a warning, every shadow felt too sharp. This is what your world looks like, she said quietly in the dark. People who smile while threatening your life. Hyunwoo lay beside her, staring at the ceiling. This is why I never wanted you in it. You brought me into it the moment you didn't walk away from me. He turned to face her. I'm not walking away now. That's not what I'm asking, Nya said. I'm asking if you're willing to choose a future where I'm safe over a future where you're powerful. Hyunwoo was silent for a long time. I don't know if those can be separate, he admitted. That hurt more than she expected. The next day, everything exploded. News broke quietly at first, a corporate investigation. A raid on a shell company tied to one of Kang Jae-min's longtime rivals. Assets frozen, executives arrested. It wasn't random. It was Hyunwoo, public, clean, legal, a surgical strike disguised as compliance. You did this, Nya said, watching the news on her phone. Yes, Hyunwoo replied. That man from last night? He was connected, and this is your response. This is me telling everyone, Hyunwoo said, that you are not leverage. Nya stared at him. You're painting a target on your back. I already had one, he replied. Now they know where I stand. That night, a black car tried to run her off the road. Only security stopped it, barely. Nya shook for an hour afterward. Hyunwoo broke something in his penthouse, not furniture, a rule. He called a meeting, not private, not quiet. A gathering of power players who didn't usually sit in the same room. Nya wasn't there, but everyone talked about it afterward. How Hyunwoo stood at the head of the table, how he named names. How he said one sentence that rippled through Seoul's underworld like an earthquake. She is not a weakness. She is a line, cross it, and I will end you. For the first time, people didn't see Kang Jae-min's son. They saw a man who was willing to burn the city to protect one woman. And that shocked everyone. The city might have been afraid of Hyunwoo. Nya was afraid of what he was becoming, not because she doubted his strength, but because she recognized the look in his eyes. It was the same look she'd seen in men who believed sacrifice justified anything, including themselves, including her. You can't keep doing this, Nya said one night, sitting on the edge of his bed while he took another call that ended in clipped Korean and heavy silence. This ends when they back off, he replied. They won't, she said. People who use fear don't suddenly become reasonable. Hyunwoo rubbed his face. So what do you want me to do? Let them come for you. I want you to choose me, Nya said softly, not this war. Not your father's world, me? That's not how this works, he said. That's exactly how it works, she snapped. You're acting like you don't have a choice, you do. You're just choosing power and calling it protection. The words hit him hard. Don't say that, he warned. Why, she asked. Because it's true. Hyunwoo turned away. You don't understand what walking away would cost. Then explain it, Nya demanded. Because from where I'm standing, staying is already costing me everything. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, if I step away now, they won't stop. They'll see it as weakness, they'll come harder. Not just for me, for you, for Yura, for anyone connected to you. Nya's chest tightened. So my life is collateral either way, yes, he admitted. That's the truth of my world. The honesty hurt more than any lie. I won't be the reason you turn into something you hate, Nya said, voice shaking. And I won't be the reason people get hurt because they love me. You think leaving will make this better? He asked sharply. I think staying makes it worse, she replied. Hyunwoo grabbed her wrist, not hard, but not gently either. Fear flashed in her. He let go immediately. I would never hurt you, he said, voice strained. Never, I know, Nya whispered. But this world will. That was the moment she decided, not out loud. Not dramatically, quietly. The next morning, she packed a bag. Not everything, just enough. Hyunwoo was gone at a meeting. Security was outside. She left anyway. She called Yura. I need to disappear for a while, Nya said. What, Nya? You can't just. I can, she said. I have to. By the time Hyunwoo realized she was gone, the city was already moving. He tore through his penthouse, called everyone. Shouted at people who had never been shouted at before. She left, he said to his father, voice raw. Kang Jae-min closed his eyes slowly. I warned you, he said. When you mix love with this world, something always bleeds. Hyunwoo's voice cracked. I was trying to protect her. And in doing so, his father replied, you became the reason she had to run. Nya stayed in a small apartment under a different name. No luxury, no guards, no power, just quiet. It felt like breathing for the first time in months. But fear followed her anyway, not from men with guns. From her own heart, she missed him. That was the cruelest part. She missed the man he was before the war, the laugh, the softness. The boy who didn't want to be his father. 1 week later, everything changed. A body was found, not just any body, the man from her hallway. The one who had threatened her, dead, official cause, accident. Everyone knew better, the message was loud. Hyunwoo had chosen, and the city understood. You don't threaten what belongs to him. When Nya saw the news, she sat on the edge of her borrowed bed and felt sick, not because the man was gone, but because she knew what it meant. Hyunwoo had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. For her, that night, her phone rang, unknown number. She almost didn't answer, almost. Nya, Hyunwoo said. His voice sounded older. He's dead, she said. Yes, you did that. Silence, then quietly, yes, tears filled her eyes. I didn't want this, I know, he said, but I won't let anyone touch you. Ever again. That's not protection, Nya whispered. That's blood. I would burn the world for you, he said. And I won't let you, she replied. Not in my name, you don't get to decide that anymore, he said softly. That was when she realized something terrifying. He wasn't fighting for her. He was becoming something else. Something unstoppable, something dangerous. Something the city would fear. And loving him now meant standing beside a man who no longer knew where love ended. And power began. Nya didn't sleep, not after that call. Not after hearing the calm in Hyunwoo's voice, when he admitted to doing something that could never be undone. She sat by the window of her borrowed apartment, watching Seoul breathe, cars, lights, lives, a city built on invisible deals and visible consequences. She had taken a bullet to save a life. Now someone had lost their life because of her. That truth sat heavy in her chest. By morning, Nya had made a decision. Not to run, not to hide, to confront. She didn't go through security. She didn't call ahead. She walked into Kong Group headquarters like she belonged there. Which, in a way, she did. The receptionist tried to stop her. The guards tried to redirect her. Then Hyunwoo's name was spoken into a headset. And everything changed. She was escorted upstairs. To a room with glass walls and a table long enough for wars. Hyunwoo was already there. He looked tired. Not physically, spiritually. Nya, he said, standing quickly, you shouldn't be here. I saved your life once, she replied. I'm here to save your soul. That stopped him. Kang Jaemin was there too, watching, always watching. You killed a man, Nya said, voice steady. For me, he threatened you, Hyunwoo replied. He made himself my enemy. He threatened me because of you. She shot back, don't twist that. Silence. You crossed a line, Nya continued, not because you protected me, but because you chose to become judge and executioner. I chose to make it stop, he said. And now it never will, she replied. Violence doesn't end violence. It teaches people to use it better. Hyunwoo's jaw tightened. You think I care about their morality? I think you care about mine, Nya said. Or you used to. That hurt him, she could see it. I didn't want to become this, he admitted. But this is what my world demands. Your world, Nya said softly. Not mine. Kang Jaemin finally spoke. My son, he said, this is the cost of power. You cannot protect what you love without becoming dangerous. Nya turned to him. That's a lie powerful men tell themselves so they can sleep at night. The room went still. No one talked to Kang Jaemin like that, except her. I didn't save your son so you could raise him into a better monster, she said. I saved him because I believed he was better than this. Hyunwoo looked at her like she'd punched through his chest. I can still be better, he said. Then prove it, Nya replied. How, he asked publicly, she said. Walk away from this, from the shadow deals, from the violence. Let them see you choose something different. That would make me weak, Kang Jaemin said. No, Nya replied, it would make him dangerous in a way you never were. Everyone leaned in. Men like you, she continued, rule through fear. Hyunwoo has something you never did. She looked at him. He has the chance to rule through legitimacy. Hyunwoo shook his head. They'll tear me apart. Only if you let them define you, Nya said. Expose them, cut deals in daylight, use lawyers, press, regulators. Burn the shadow world instead of feeding it. Kang Jaemin's eyes narrowed. That would destroy everything I built, he said. Nya met his gaze. Maybe what you built deserves to be destroyed. For the first time, Kang Jaemin looked at her not as a debt, but as a threat. You ask my son to choose you over me, he said. No, Nya replied. I'm asking him to choose himself over becoming you. Hyunwoo's breathing was heavy. This will make enemies, he said. You already have them, Nya replied. The difference is whether they own you or fear your transparency. Silence. Then something unexpected happened. Kang Jaemin laughed. Not loudly, not warmly, but with respect. You are dangerous, he said to Nya, not because you carry a gun, but because you carry truth. He turned to his son. If you do this, Kang Jaemin said, you will no longer be protected by my shadow. Hyunwoo looked at his father, then at Nya, then at the city through the glass. I'm done being someone's son, he said quietly. I'm ready to be my own man. That was the moment. The room shifted, not with violence, with choice. Hyunwoo turned to Nya. You may lose me, he said. They may come for me. Nya's eyes filled with tears. I'd rather lose you to freedom than keep you as a king built on blood. He nodded. Then watch, he said. That afternoon, Hyunwoo did something no one expected. He called a press conference, not a secret meeting, not a backroom deal, cameras, lawyers, statements. He announced internal audits. He announced cooperation with regulators. He announced the restructuring of family-linked entities. He named corruption, not all of it, but enough. The city froze, the underworld panicked, the legitimate world leaned forward, and for the first time, Kang Jaemin's empire cracked. Not from a bullet, but from a sun choosing daylight. Seoul didn't explode, it held its breath. For 48 hours no one knew what would happen. Markets reacted, executives resigned, lawyers worked through the night. Regulators suddenly found their courage. Names that had been whispered for decades appeared in official documents. Hyunwoo became the most talked about man in the city, not because he was powerful, but because he had turned power inside out. Kang Jaemin disappeared from public view. Not arrested, not praised, just absent. Which, in his world, was louder than any headline. Nya watched it all from a quiet cafe, hands wrapped around a coffee she'd reheated twice without drinking. You did this, Yura said softly, sitting across from her. You changed the city. Nya shook her head. I gave someone a reason to choose differently. That's not the same thing. Hyunwoo didn't contact her for 3 days. Not because he didn't want to, because every move he made was being watched. On the 4th day, her phone rang. This time, it wasn't unknown. Hyunwoo. Nya, he said. No power in his voice, just him. Can I see you? She closed her eyes. Are you safe? As safe as a man who set fire to his own house can be. She met him in a public park. No penthouse, no guards, just trees, cold air, and a bench. He looked different, not weaker, lighter. They hate me, he said, sitting beside her. Some of them. The ones who lived in the dark, and the others. She asked. They're watching, he replied. Waiting to see if I survive my own choices. Nya studied his face. And your father? Hyunwoo exhaled. He said I betrayed him, then he said he was proud. Then he said nothing. That sounds like him, Nya said softly. I lost an empire, Hyunwoo continued. But I might build something real. Nya smiled faintly. That's the part that shocks everyone. He turned to her. I didn't do it just for you, I know, she said. You did it for the man you wanted to be. They sat in silence. Then Hyunwoo said, I killed a man. Nya didn't flinch. And you stopped being one. That landed. I can't erase that, he said. No, Nya agreed. But you can decide what kind of life you build on top of it. He looked at her. Do you still want to be part of it? Nya's answer was honest. I don't want a king, she said. I don't want a protector who bleeds for me. I want a partner who stands beside me. Hyunwoo nodded. I can be that. Then you don't own me, she added. And I don't belong to your world. I know, he said. You never did. They didn't kiss. Not dramatically, not like a movie. They just sat closer. To people who had survived a story that should have destroyed them. Weeks later, Kang Jaemin left the country. Officially for health. Unofficially because the city no longer belonged to him. Hyunwoo stayed. He built something quieter, cleaner, still powerful. But visible. Nya went back to her life, her job, her apartment, her routines. She didn't become a symbol, she became herself again. But stronger. People still whispered. About the black woman who took a bullet, about the heir who broke an empire. About the love story that didn't end in tragedy. The thing that shocked everyone wasn't that Hyunwoo became more powerful, it was that he chose to become better. And Nya. She didn't become a mafia queen. She became what she always was, a woman who refused to be placed. Who stepped into danger not for power, but for humanity. Sometimes, the bravest thing isn't pulling a trigger. It's putting one down. Sometimes, love doesn't conquer all. Sometimes, it forces you to choose who you really are. And in a city built on shadows, a black woman and a man who chose daylight became a story people would tell in whispers. Not because it was violent, but because it was rare. Because it proved that even in the darkest systems, one act of courage, one bullet taken for love, and one decision to stop the cycle, can change everything.